The United States has betrayed Africa for the last time. Tomorrow I reveal the truth about the Sahel mining agreements. The people deserve to know who really controls their resources. Hashtag truth over power, hashtag Africa rising. The tweet came from @Traore BF, Captain Ibrahim Traore, the 35-year-old revolutionary leader who had seized power in Burkina Faso 3 years earlier. In those 3 years, he had become the most dangerous man Trump had never heard of until tonight. Sir? Chief of Staff Marcus Webb materialized beside Trump's chair, tablet in hand. The intelligence brief you requested. Trump snatched the device, his small hands trembling with rage as he scrolled through the classified dossier. Traore's face stared back at him, young, defiant, with eyes that held the fire of revolution. The report painted a picture that made Trump's blood run cold. Subject has mobilized Pan-African sentiment against Western mining interests. Intelligence suggests he possesses documents detailing illegal extraction agreements dating back to the Obama administration, continued through the Biden years, and expanded during current administration. Risk level, extreme. Recommendation, immediate containment necessary. Trump hurled the tablet across the room, watching it shatter against the presidential seal on the wall. Get me Langley. Now. But 4,000 miles away in Ouagadougou, Captain Traore was already 3 steps ahead. The secure line crackled to life at exactly 4:15 a.m. On the other end, Elon Musk's voice carried that familiar South African drawl, though tinged with something Trump had never heard before, genuine concern. You realize what you're asking me to do? Musk's words came slowly, deliberately. Trump paced the Oval Office, his shadow dancing across the walls in the lamplight. I'm not asking, Elon. I'm telling. Cut his access. All of it. Twitter, Starlink, everything. Make him disappear from the digital world. Burkina Faso relies on Starlink for 60% of their internet infrastructure, Musk replied. You're talking about cutting off an entire nation. I'm talking about protecting American interests. Trump's voice echoed off the curved walls. This kid thinks he can threaten us? He's about to learn what happens when you mess with the United States of America. There was a long pause. In the background, Trump could hear the hum of machinery. Musk was at one of his factories, probably hadn't slept in days. When he spoke again, his voice was different. I'll need to think about this, Donald. The line went dead. Trump stared at the phone, his mouth hanging open. In 3 decades of business and politics, no one, had ever hung up on him. His hands shook as he dialed again. Straight to voicemail. What Trump didn't know was that at that exact moment, 2,000 miles away in Austin, Texas, Elon Musk was placing a very different call. The encrypted video call connected at 12:47 a.m. Central Time. On the split screen, 2 faces appeared, one in a sparse military office lit by fluorescent tubes, the other in a glass-walled conference room overlooking the Texas Hill Country. Mr. Musk, Captain Traore spoke first, his English crisp despite the late hour. I wasn't expecting to hear from you directly. Musk leaned forward, his face serious. Call me Elon. And I think we need to talk. For the next 2 hours, an extraordinary conversation unfolded. Traore had reached out to Musk 6 months earlier, not as a customer but as a student. He'd read every interview, watched every presentation, absorbed every word about sustainable technology and space exploration. But more importantly, he'd understood something that most world leaders missed. Musk wasn't just a businessman. He was an idealist. The documents I have, Traore said, pulling up files on his screen, they detail systematic resource extraction across the Sahel. Uranium, lithium, cobalt, everything needed for the green energy revolution. But none of the profits stay in Africa. None of the technology transfers happen. We're being strip mined to fuel someone else's sustainable future. Musk studied the documents, his expression growing darker with each page. These extraction rates, they're not sustainable. You're looking at environmental collapse within a decade. Which is why I need to go public. Tomorrow's press conference isn't just about politics, Elon. It's about survival. Not just for Burkina Faso, but for the entire Sahel region. And Trump wants me to silence you. Will you? Musk was quiet for a long moment. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows behind him, the first hints of dawn were beginning to touch the sky. Finally, he looked back at the camera. I've spent my entire career trying to make life multiplanetary because I believe our species needs a backup plan. But what good is Mars if we can't even take care of Earth? He paused. What do you need from me? By 6 a.m., the Situation Room had transformed into a command center. Maps of West Africa covered every wall, marked with red pins indicating U.S. interests. CIA Director Sarah Chen stood at the head of the table, her voice cutting through the tension. Starlink connectivity in Burkina Faso has actually increased overnight, she reported, consulting her tablet. We're seeing signal boosters coming online across the capital. Someone's not just maintaining their connection, they're strengthening it. Trump's face had gone from pale to red to purple over the course of the briefing. What do you mean strengthening it? Sir, it appears that Starlink has deployed additional satellites over the region. The coverage is now stronger than anything we've ever seen in sub-Saharan Africa. If Traore goes live with his press conference, the whole world will be watching in 4K, finished General Patricia Morrison, chairman of the Joint Chiefs. She'd been quiet until now, but the implications were becoming clear. We're looking at potential global coverage of whatever he's planning to reveal. Trump slammed his fist on the mahogany table, sending coffee cups jumping. Give me the Attorney General. I want Musk arrested. Sedition, treason, I don't care what you call it. Webb looked up from his phone, his face pale. Sir, we have another problem. The story's already breaking. Every screen in the room switched to the same feed. A live stream from Ouagadougou showing thousands of people gathering in the central square. At the center, a simple podium with the Burkina Faso flag. The timestamp showed 1 p.m. local time. The press conference was starting early. Captain Traore stepped up to the podium with the confidence of a man who had nothing left to lose. Behind him, the presidential palace rose against a brilliant blue sky. Before him, a sea of faces, journalists, citizens, diplomats, and revolutionaries from across Africa. But the real audience was digital. In the bottom corner of the screen, a number climbed steadily, 50,000 viewers. 100,000. 500,000. 1 million. My fellow Africans, Traore began, his voice carrying clearly through the Starlink-enhanced audio feed. Today I speak not just as the president of Burkina Faso, but as the voice of a continent that has been silenced for too long. In the White House Situation Room, Trump watched in horror as the viewer count continued to climb. 2 million. 5 million. 10 million. For decades, we have been told that foreign investment in our natural resources benefits our people. We have been told that the mining agreements signed by our predecessors were fair and equitable. Today I show you the truth. Traore held up a thick folder. These are the actual contracts, the real agreements signed in secret and hidden from our people. They reveal systematic resource extraction designed to impoverish our nations while enriching foreign corporations and their government partners. He opened the folder and the camera zoomed in on the first document. At the top, clearly visible, was an official U.S. State Department letterhead. Trump's phone started ringing. Every phone in the room started ringing. On the screens, the viewer count had passed 20 million and was accelerating. Cut the feed. Trump screamed at no one in particular. Cut it now. Sir, we can't, Chen replied, her voice steady despite the chaos. The signal is coming through Starlink, and we don't have kill switch access. Then get me the Pentagon. I want a cyber attack on every satellite over Africa. General Morrison stood up slowly. Mr. President, that would be an act of war against a NATO ally. SpaceX is an American company providing legal internet services. Legal? Legal? Trump's voice cracked. That maniac is broadcasting state secrets. On screen, Traore was now displaying specific documents. Mining agreements that guaranteed 98% of profits to foreign corporations. Environmental impact assessments that had been falsified. Population displacement contracts that had never been disclosed to the affected communities. And then he showed the bank statements. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the offshore accounts that have received these mining profits. Note the dates, note the signatories, note the beneficiaries. The camera focused on a series of wire transfers. The amounts were staggering, billions of dollars flowing to accounts in the Cayman Islands, Switzerland, and Delaware. But it was the account holder names that caused the real earthquake. In the White House, Webb grabbed Trump's arm. Sir, we need to get you out of here. Now. But Trump wasn't going anywhere. He was staring at the screen, watching 25 million people see his name on those bank statements. Watching his financial empire crumble in real time. watching his presidency explode. Then something unexpected happened. The feed cut out. For 30 seconds, screens around the world showed only the Starlink loading symbol. In the Situation Room, a collective breath was held. Had someone finally found the kill switch? Then the feed resumed, but now there were two figures at the podium. Captain Traore had been joined by a tall man in a black t-shirt and jeans. The man stepped up to the microphone. "Hello Earth. This is Elon Musk speaking to you live from Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso." Trump's knees buckled. He grabbed the edge of the table to keep from falling. "I came here," Musk continued, "because I believe in transparency. I believe in the truth. And I believe that the future of human civilization depends on our ability to work together, not to exploit each other." The viewer count hit 50 million. What President Traore has shown you today is not just about mining contracts or corporate profits. It's about a fundamental choice we face as a species. Do we continue to extract resources from developing nations to fuel the lifestyles of developed nations? Or do we find a better way? Musk gestured to something off camera, and the feed switched to show a massive construction site in the distance. Solar panels stretched to the horizon, interrupted by wind turbines and what appeared to be a rocket launch facility. 6 months ago, President Traore and I began discussing a different approach. Instead of extracting raw materials from Africa, what if we processed them here? What if we built the factories here? What if we created the jobs here? The camera switched back to show both men at the podium. "What if," Traore continued, "Africa became not just the source of materials for the green energy revolution, but the manufacturing center for it?" In the Situation Room, the phones had gone quiet. Everyone was watching the screen as Musk and Traore outlined their vision. Manufacturing plants powered by renewable energy. Technology transfer programs that kept intellectual property in Africa. Revenue-sharing agreements that actually shared revenue. "This is insane," Trump muttered. "This is absolutely insane." But Webb was reading something else on his tablet, his face growing pale. "Sir, the markets are reacting. Tesla stock is up 15% in after-hours trading. SpaceX valuation estimates are soaring. And the African Development Bank just announced it's backing the project with a $50 billion commitment." On screen, Musk was explaining the technical details. "We're not just talking about mining and manufacturing. We're talking about the entire supply chain. From lithium extraction to battery production to electric vehicle assembly. All powered by renewable energy, all employing local workers, all keeping the value in Africa. The first Tesla gigafactory in Africa will break ground next month," Traore added. "The first SpaceX launch facility outside the US will be operational within 2 years. This is not a dream. This is a plan." The viewer count had reached 75 million and was still climbing. Trump's phone buzzed with a text message. Then another. Then dozens. Every major news outlet, every political rival, every business partner he'd ever had was reaching out. But it was the message from his own bank that made his blood run cold. "Mr. President, we need to discuss your accounts immediately. Please call at your earliest convenience. Urgent." On screen, Traore was now taking questions from reporters. The questions were sharp, professional, and devastating. "Mr. President, these documents show mining agreements signed during multiple U.S. administrations. Are you suggesting this is a bipartisan issue?" "Absolutely," Traore replied. "This is not about Republican or Democrat. This is about a system that has exploited Africa for decades under leaders of both parties. But it's also about an opportunity to change that system. Mr. Musk, you're essentially announcing the largest foreign investment in African history. What makes you think this will work when so many previous attempts have failed?" Musk stepped forward. "Because previous attempts weren't partnerships. They were extraction schemes with prettier marketing. This is different. We're not taking resources out of Africa. We're building an industrial revolution in Africa. And if the US government tries to stop you?" Musk smiled, and for the first time in the entire broadcast he looked directly into the camera. "They're welcome to try. But the future belongs to those who build it, not those who try to stop it." Within an hour of the broadcast ending, the political earthquake began. The hashtag #AfricaRising trended worldwide. The mining documents had been uploaded to a distributed network of servers, making them impossible to suppress. Financial markets were in chaos as investors tried to process the implications of a fundamental shift in global resource flows. And in the White House, Donald Trump sat alone in the Oval Office, watching his presidency collapse in real time. The door opened and Webb entered, his face grim. "Sir, the Senate Majority Leader is on line 1. The House Speaker is on line 2. And the Attorney General needs to speak with you immediately." Trump didn't move. He was staring at his phone, at the Twitter app that had been his weapon of choice for so many years. His thumb hovered over the screen, ready to fire off a response, a counterattack, something to regain control of the narrative. But for the first time in his life, Donald Trump had nothing to say. Outside the Oval Office windows, the sun was setting over Washington, D.C. And 4,000 miles away in Ouagadougou, it was rising over a new Africa. 6 months later, the Tesla Gigafactory Ouagadougou was a marvel of modern engineering. Sprawling across 500 acres of the Burkina Faso savanna, it was powered entirely by solar panels and wind turbines. The facility employed 15,000 people and produced 500,000 electric vehicle batteries per year. More importantly, it was just the beginning. Captain Traore stood on the observation deck watching the third shift change over. Beside him, Elon Musk was reviewing production reports on his tablet. "The Congo lithium processing facility comes online next month," Musk reported. "The Nigerian semiconductor plant is ahead of schedule. And the South African launch pad is ready for its first test flight." Traore nodded, but his attention was focused on something else. On the factory floor below, young Burkinabe engineers were training their counterparts from Ghana, Mali, and Niger. Technology transfer in action. "You know what the best part is?" Traore said. "What's that?" "We're not just building factories. We're building a future where Africa doesn't need to ask permission to prosper." Musk looked up from his tablet and smiled. That was always the plan. In the distance, the sun was setting over the African savanna, casting long shadows across the solar panels that stretched to the horizon. And for the first time in decades, those shadows pointed toward tomorrow instead of yesterday. As for Donald Trump? Well, that's another story entirely. But it's a story that ends with him watching from the sidelines as the world moved on without him. The future, it turned out, belonged to those brave enough to build it.